Europe's last free nation was swept away by a wave of tyranny. The lifeboat of democracy, lost in a storm of war. After the division of Poland, the Soviet Union's armies stayed peacefully behind their borders, while the United States, still upset over England's failed invasion of Norway, fully embraced isolationism. The Germans, emboldened by good weather and by Britain's Italian distractions in the Mediterranean, cleared the way for a direct assault, pummeling the capital with overwhelming air power as part of the most intricately coordinated assault yet seen in the war. They took the Channel within hours, establishing supply chains to support the thousands of paratroopers now on British soil. British forces fought them in the fields and in the streets. But soon, London had fallen, and with it, the sun had finally set on the British Empire. But as the sun rose on a Germany eager to stamp out the stubborn English resistance, it also rose over an envious power in the Soviet Union.
Alone we stood against fascism. Alone we drove the German invader from Stalingrad. Alone we prepare to march west. We stand on the edge of victory. But an old enemy has returned to its backstabbing ways. Japan and its puppets resist the workers' revolution in China. The rising sun is plunging its dagger into our exposed eastern lands. The Soviet Union stands alone against imperialism. We can rely on no one. We shall defeat the Japanese as we have defeated the Germans. The Soviet workers are unconquered. We are unconquerable. If we must win this next war alone, we shall do that too.
3 winters ago, Soviet forces conquered the German capital of Berlin. Now, with Hitler in exile, the Soviets' puppet regime rules from the Kronper. With the Soviet focus on the West, Japan has been free to continue their aggressive expansion, threatening our allies in the region. On the home front, men and women are working around the clock, producing guns, tanks, and supplies to aid the remaining free nations of Europe, while building our own forces to counter the ever-rising threat of war. Should the communists dominate Europe and Africa, and the Japanese in Asia and the Pacific, then the claws of tyranny will soon grasp for the light of American democracy. Our attempts to avoid war have proven futile. As the enemy continues to enslave the nations of the world, capturing more natural resources critical to the advancement of mankind, we must take action. The time for conflict is upon us. How long can the U.S. hope to avoid the cost of war on its shores?
There had not been a time in recent memory when any had challenged the collective might of the Commonwealth. But as conflict engulfed the world, our enemies were foolish enough to bring aggression to our coastline. And as Japanese bombs fell on our shores, the Commonwealth was already in motion to defend her people. And when we strike back, we shall do so as a united front, with allies by our side. And together, we shall find victory!
Our nation is at a precipice, set for annihilation. Enemies far mightier than us are standing outside our gates. The German wolves are howling in the west. In the east, the Bolsheviks are biding their time, ready to strike their red daggers deep into our heartland. Ask yourself, can armor be as thick as cunning and wit? Can a pen be as sharp as a sword? Whichever path you take, history will judge you accordingly. It's time to choose. Armed or unarmed, idealism or pragmatism, death or dishonor.
We labored for you in the Great War, and you rewarded us with empty promises. We slowly dragged our nation into the modern age, and you used every opportunity to exploit us. We warned you of the Japanese imperialists, and you cowered behind your appeasements. We have been bleeding and dying in ditches for years. You haven't lifted a finger to aid us. Now, our war is your war. We stand together against a nation that threatens the continent. We will push back the invader, side by side, for now. But we will never forget the price China paid for its freedom.
In early 1942, the war in Europe was coming to American shores. Enemy raiders operating out of hidden bases were wreaking havoc on the sea lanes to Europe. The U.S. Navy, weakened by resources being siphoned away to expand the Army, was ill-prepared to stop them. By summer, the U.S. was ready to take the first offensive measure to combat this threat. Operation Backflip. It led to the biggest naval battle fought in the Western Hemisphere since the First American Civil War. After months of chasing submarines and raiders around the Caribbean, they now knew where their enemy would be. They pulled together all forces at their disposal for a single, decisive battle for control of the seas. The stage was set for the Battle of the Mexican Gulf.
Claude, my darling, by now you have heard that the Germans have discovered our operation, and I fear they will soon get their way. We still wait for words from our friends overseas. We tell them what we know, and yet we are starved of resources. If this is to be my last letter to you, know that I have no regrets. For I wish to be as brave as all those who have gone before me. All those who fought for France. Be brave, mon amour. Vive la résistance!
My father told me that in war, there are no winners. The people had fought a decade for their independence. Peace came at a high price, and there were few who sought to pay that price again. But the winds of war follow their own volition. What would my father say now, I wonder, when faced with a choice that will shape the very course of history? Is there such a thing as neutral? My father was a good man, but I am not my father. To lay down arms, to give in, when faced with war, is not neutrality, it is surrender. We did not fight for our freedom, just surrender it now. We stand our ground.
Бабушка.
Да, малыш.
А почему мама и папа ушли?
Чтобы мы выжили, малыш.
Почему они не могли остаться с нами в безопасности?
Потому что это их долг. СССР – великая нация. Но нашим соседям по ту сторону границы нельзя доверять. Сталин сказал, нужно защищать Советский Союз, чего бы это ни стоило. Поэтому из чрева матушки России рождаются машины. С ними мы можем воевать в небесах, на земле и в морских глубинах. Но заплатить высшую цену придется мужчинам и женщинам, воюющим в составе Красной Армии, когда они пойдут на верную смерть, чтобы СССР смог существовать дальше.
Betrayal. We thought we were safe from the cataclysm across the sea. But our ambitious neighbor has joined the overseas aggressors in a desperate grab for our beloved land. We shall not falter. We must not yield. For every inch, we will fight. This is not a battle for territory. This is a trial for the very soul of South America.